Boys, what's up? Today, we're going to be going over my rankings for every single pay-per-view in 2025. Now, there were some great pay-per-views this year. There were some really, 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 really bad pay-per-views this year. And I'm hoping going into the Paramount card, there's more effort on the pay-per-views, but unfortunately, I don't think that'll probably happen now because they have all their money. They don't need to sell it, but we're going to hope that the pay-per-views get better in the Paramount era. But anyway, let's get started with the first pay-per-view that I'm going to be talking about, which is the worst. UFC 312. Holy crap. Holy crap. I'm going to try not to swear this video, but oh my fucking god. Oh, I just did. Anyway, UFC 312 was genuinely terrible. It was terrible, bro. Sean Strickland versus Dricus du Plessis is a match made from hell, bro. UFC 297. The fight was shit too. And yes, I know it went to a split decision and it was a little scrappy, but it was bad. The card was bad. I don't know what these two did to deserve. Well, I mean, I might know what Strickland did, but I don't know what, these two deserve to fucking, get these terrible cards. But wow, bro, this card was really, really bad. Quillen Sal, okay, I'm going to go over the card and, I'm going to do a little overview of every card, but Quillen Salkild was on this one. He knocked out Anshul Jubilee, which was, funny. Other than that, on the prelims, bro, Jack Jenkins gets subbed in Australia. That was pretty bad. Tom Nolan, he had Wang Kong fought. Oh, Alexander Topuria, I forgot about that one, but I mean, hot take, I don't think Alexander Topuria is going to be anything, and he's honestly pretty boring, but main card was just absolutely awful, bro. You have Jake Matthews. You have Francisco Prado on a UFC card. Rodolfo Gelato, as Bedtime would say. Rodolfo Bellato, who faked a fucking injury against Paul Craig. He was on there. Against Jimmy Crute. That fight went to a draw. Taliesin Teixeira versus Justin. Like, bro, come on, man. And then you had Zhang Weili versus Tatiana Suarez, a women's fight that just... it didn't even halt the the pace of the card, bro. It was like the fucking second best fight. And then you had Sean Strickland versus Dricus, which was just a terrible fight. Dricus 50-45s him. And yeah, this card was just absolutely terrible. Hard to stay up for. And yeah, it's in my last spot. Moving on. UFC 321. This card was absolutely terrible as well. I honestly thought about maybe putting it last, but it was at least better than, honestly, the main event. Even though the main event ended, and very unceremoniously, it was still better than Strickland versus du Plessis. So, yeah, this card was, I'm not going to lie, all the Abu Dhabi cards other than 280, like, all the other ones have been so lackluster, bro. I'm not going to lie. These cards are not the best. And yeah, nothing really happened on this card of no. Hamdi Abdulwahab versus Chris Barnett was just fucking laughable. That fight was actually funny to watch. That was a good fight. That was a bad fight, but it was so bad that it was like good. It was so funny. Nathaniel Wood and Jose Delgado put on a scrap. Walter Walker gets another heel hook, which is, these prelims actually weren't as bad as, as I remember. Ludovic Klein versus Rebecca was absolute scrap. Ikram Jung Young Park was boring as hell. Quillen Salkild with an amazing those prelims might be like top tier prelims. I ain't gonna cap. Those might be top tier prelims, pay-per-view wise, but the main card is this a bad like, am I tripping here? As Matt Mirzakhanov slimed out Alexander Rakic, which we were happy about because we're not Rakic fans over here and he's boring as fuck and entitled, but it's another story. But am I tripping? No, I'm not tripping. These top four fights were just so bad, bro. Volkov Almeida was just terrorism to the sport. That was oh my god, I can't even talk about it. That fight was just so bad. I'm gonna get pissed, but that fight was terrible. Almeida should have won too, which is the sad thing, but I'm glad he didn't. I'm glad he got robbed. But Umar versus Mario wasn't that entertaining, other than Mario almost slamming him out with a knee up the middle in round 2. That was fire, but that fight was so boring. The Dern Jandruba fight was boring, but I guess it was cool to see a new champion. It wasn't even cool. What am I saying? That fight was terrible, and no one liked the outcome. Actually, Dern's... Actually, I'm not going to say that, but I think you know what I'm thinking. But anyway, the main event was absolutely... the main event was actually good up until the eye poke. Cyril Gane was busting up Tom Aspinall. Tom Aspinall was landing back. It was going to be a good fight. I hate people saying that fight was... It was going to be a good fight, bro. It was going to be a really good fight. I think someone was going to get finished, and it just sucks that it had to end like that. That's why this pay-per-view is so like low on my rankings. The other fights were terrible. Such a sad way to end, what was going to be a good fight. So 321, you are second to last. Coming up next, UFC 318. This card was really bad, guys. I'm sorry. This card was really, really, really bad, all right? Other than the main event, this card, why was Paulo Costa in a fucking co-main event with Roman Kopylov? Like, no. I'm not even going to laugh about that. What the fuck was the UFC thinking, bro? Genuinely, what were they thinking when they made this card? Like, do people just not want to go to New Orleans? Like, I mean, I know they had a bad hurricane, but like that was a long time ago. Yo, am I insensitive for that? Anyway, I know that was a long time ago, bro. What the fuck was this card, bro? There wasn't even a second title fight. Yo, should I have put this second to last? Genuinely, should I put this second to last, bro? What is this card? I'm a Paulo Costa fan, bro. Let me just say, I'm a real Paulo Costa fan. I fuck with Paulo Costa heavy. But what was this card? Why is he a co-main event on a pay-per-view? Oh my God. Wow. Anyway, let's go through. Yo, what the? Yo, I'm actually really forgetting some of these fights. All finishes on the early prelims. Carly Judice gets a finish. She's from Louisiana, so that was cool to see. Bruno Fajeda gets a submission really early. Ryan Spann knocks out Lucas Bursky. Jimmy Crute gets a submission. Islam Dulatov knocks out Adam Fuget. Atiba Gauthier. Yo, these prelims are carrying these main cards, bro. Damn. All right. Varetnikov vs. Prado was horrible. Brennan Allen, I forgot that fight was. Why that fight wasn't on the. That fight should have been the co-main, but and that's sad to say because that fight's not a co-main level. But Vinicius Oliveira, oh my God, we're hate watching him in 2026. We hope Mario Batista slimes him out because holy shit, that fight with Kyler Phillips was so bad. I don't know how he's a top 15 ranked fighter. Someone please tell me in the comments, please. If you're a Vinicius Oliveira fan, which I don't think there are any of you other than in Brazil, holy crap, bro, that fight was really bad. But yeah, let's get to this main card, bro. This main card was so bad. Fucking Michael Johnson versus Daniel Zellhuber's on the main card. We did get a hate watch for Zellhuber. Nah, I don't hate him, but he did get fraud checked. But Pitbull versus Ige was a nothing fight. Ige gets so much credit for stepping in on short names. Ige's one of the most boring fighters in the UFC. Let's be real. Pitbull just fucking, that fight was bad. Kevin Holland versus Daniel Rodriguez was a scrap. It's not pay-per-view worthy, but it was a scrap. It was such a good scrap. I don't know how Holland lost. He's just really not a high-level fighter. And let's get to the main event. This main event was it was legendary. The walkouts were Holloway's walkout's not fire, but Poirier's walkout was fire. Lil Wayne in the back. I wish he came out to a different Wayne song though, bro. I'm not a big fan of that Wayne song off the Carter 5, but I am a music specialist, so I knew that was on the Carter 5. We messed with Wayne, but that song was okay. But he came out to James Brown one last time. And he really got beat up in this fight. I low-key thought it was a 49-46, which was sad to see because we were rooting for Poirier because we're not Holloway fans. But the main event did live up to the hype, in my opinion. I wish it got a little more scrappy, but it was a good main event and a good send-off for Poirier. I wish he had won, but overall, this card's really bad. So we're going to move on. In the 10th spot, we do have UFC 317. In this fight, honestly, I should have put the tire because this fight had the first Meta-sponsored Sora AI fight. This was the first Meta-sponsored Sora AI fight in the main event. They simulated Ilia Topuria versus Charles Oliveira. They simulated it, all right? We're using Sora AI, and Ilia got a knockout over Charles. We know that would never happen in a real fight. So I'm docking points for that Sora AI meta bullshit that they push. We didn't want to see that. We wanted to see the real fight between these guys. And we wanted to see Charles slime him out. But anyway, we'll move on. The rest of the card was, it was okay. Jacoby Smith got a nice finish over Nico Price early on. Let's take a look at these prelims. Terrence McKinney, always a fun fight. Tracy Cortez. Jose Delgado slimed out Hyder Emil. That was a really good fight. Gregory Rodriguez, slimed out. Oh my God, slimed out with the brutal ground and pound shot on Jack Hermanson. Peyton Talbot with a nice, decent fight. Benil Dariush, Anato Moicano, decent fight. It wasn't the most exciting other than when Moicano dropped him in the first. Royval versus Van, fight of the year contender. Pantoja, decent fight against Kai Kara. Not the most exciting, but decent fight. And then the Sora AI. And, the reason this is so low is because why would they do an AI fight? Like, genuinely, why would they do an AI fight? I'm just playing, bro. This card fucking was good, but, bro, I genuinely shed tears. I know this is some people's favorite card of the year. It is some people's card of the year. I just can't. Like, I'm sorry, I'm one of those guys. If my guy loses in the main event, the fucking card sucks. So nothing memorable came from this card. Tears, sadness, literal depression came from this card. So that's why it's so low. I genuinely cried. I was so fucking nervous. I was so nervous for this fight. And on the walkout, Charles looked scared. I'm sorry, Charles. I fucking love you, but you look terrified, my boy. Just thinking back to this night, it was just so sad. And I had to fucking work at like 5 a.m. the next day. So I was on like 4 hours of sleep, like genuinely shedding tears on my way to work. So, but don't worry, we're going to get the belt back. I 100% truly believe that deep down in my heart, on my soul, I believe that. And if it's against Taporia, even better for revenge. So that's why UFC 317 is so low for me. But let's move on. Let's leave this card and, you know, the terrible memories it has. Next up is UFC 315 now. These bottom fights, man, they're just not good, all right? They're just really not good. The crowd was decent for this Montreal fight. I like that they went to a new, like, we haven't been to Montreal in a while. You know, thank God it wasn't in the fucking Apex. But, yeah, this fight card wasn't that good. Memorable stuff. Marc-Andre Barrios literally dented Bruno Silva's head. And, like, Bruno Silva was down for a long-ass time. That was pretty scary. Beksat Almakhan got a first-round finish. I mean, who fucks with flyweights these days? Mike Mallet beats Charles Radke. Jasmine Jasovicius got a big submission win. And yeah, genuinely nothing stands out on the prelims. BSD gets a nice like marauder finish over Kyle Prepperlek. My girlfriend Natalia Silva did win her fight. We were there in attendance. We were in the corner. We gave her a big kiss afterwards. Nice job, Natalia Silva, my babe. You know, we'll go have breakfast after I film this video, but she got it done. Big fight for her coming up. You know, we're training her really hard. Yeah, that's my girlfriend, so she had a big win. Zahabi versus Aldo was a scrap, I'll give him that. But then Valentina versus Manon Fiorot just halted the pace of the card. It was just a really bad fight. But the main event was good. I liked seeing Bilal lose, even though I'm not that big of a Bilal hater, but I didn't want him as champion, so that was nice to see him lose. JDM put on a scrap. That fight was really good, so that's why it's above the other ones. Moving on, UFC 316. Now, UFC 316, I was excited for the top two fights. I'm not gonna lie. I was kind of excited for the women's fight, but the rest of this card, like, I don't know. Like this is what I'm saying. If I don't remember anything from this card, it's like, you know, this card was just not good, all right? You know the card was not good. Yu Ju Sang, he slimed out Jekasaragi, face planted him in like 30 seconds. That was insane. Killen Salcode was on this card. I'm not that big of a fan of him, but he was on there. Wang Kong, she's a nice prospect. She got a win on this card. What else happened on this prelims? Josh Van was on the prelims. Yeah, that's right. He slimed out Bruno Silva in round 3. Azamat Mirzakhanov got, you know, a gimme win against Brenson Ribeiro. That matchmaking was terrible at the time. Cortez Acosta, Waldo beat Spivak on this card. Yeah, main card, like fucking Kevin Holland on a main card, like. Kevin Holland's made for like co-main events on like crowded fight nights. Like that's the vibe I get from Kevin Holland. He shouldn't be on pay-per-views. He's like a good co-main on a crowded event somewhere like in fucking Austin, Texas, or like fucking Memphis, Tennessee, or some shit like that, or like Boston. I don't know why I said those two. Anyway, yeah. So Kevin Holland, he was on there. He got a nice submission win. Mario Bautista versus Patchy Mix on a fucking pay-per-view in 2025. Fucking Jesus. Yeah, that fight was not good. Patchy, that was when we learned Patchy just doesn't know how to fight. All those fights in Bellator, I guess, never happened because he just doesn't know how to fight. But Joe Pyfer versus Kevin Gastelum, not a good fight. Actually, that was a kind of a scrap. Kelvin made it close in the last 2 rounds. But the top 2 fights really were decent fights. Kayla Harrison beat Juliana Pena. That was like a bad blood matchup, so I enjoyed the fight. At least for women's MMA, that was a pretty decent scrap. And then Merab finishes Sean. Bro, I'm not gonna lie, I wanted Merab to win. Like, I'm not gonna lie, after that Umar performance, I was high on Merab, bro. I actually fucked with Merab heavy. And I thought he would win, and he did. And, bro, I honestly felt bad for Sean because you could just know, his confidence is just absolutely so, like, in the dumps right now. His confidence is so low. So, you know, I'm hoping Sean bounces back. But at the time, you know, I was really happy for Merab's win. Moving on. It's UFC 313. Now, this fight card had so much potential. Bro. But there was a few things that I'll talk about in a minute that, it really halted the card. Haltered? halted, some shit like that. Anyway, the prelims, I don't really remember. Josh Van had I forgot Josh Van fought like every fucking pay-per-view. Josh Van got a win over Ray Cerrulla, which was like that. I remember that fight being really bad because Ray Cerrulla just shot takedowns, like fucking 500 takedowns Marab style. So I remember that fight not being that good for a Van fight. Carlos Leal got a finish over Alex Moreno. Myron Santos is on the card. Bruno Ferreira got a submission win. So, I mean, the prelims are fucking not that good, let's be real. But let's move on to the main card. This main card could have been so fucking legendary, bro. Mauricio Rufy spinning wheel kicks Bobby Green. Oh my God, I was so hyped when that shit happened, bro. That shit came out of nowhere, too. That was one of the KOs of the year. I have an awards video coming out. That might be KO of the year. You're going to have to tune into that. But, oh my God, that was such a good start to the card. And then we had a women's fight. Amanda Lemos versus Yasmin Lucindo. That just halted the card so bad. And then Jalen Turner. Jalen Turner is one of my favorite fighters. So seeing him get slimed and submitted by Ignacio Baja Mendez was fucking... That shit hurt. I'm not going to lie. That shit definitely hurt. But he bounced back with a win over Edson Barboza, and he's in a better spot mentally now. So, we're Jalen Turner fans, all right? And then this is what really... This card could have been so legendary, but Dan Hooker did pull out, and we got Justin Gaethje versus Rafael Fiziev 2, which was a boring-ass fucking fight. Gaethje, I'll give him that. It was a good second round. He dropped Fiziev, went for the kill. But if I remember correctly, after he dropped him, they had... Like, Fiziev was just holding onto his leg on the ground. They were in, like, a weird-ass position, so... That fight wasn't that entertaining for a Justin Gaethje fight, and as you know, I am a Justin Gaethje hater. We were all rooting for Fiziev. We wanted to see Gaethje slimed on the canvas unconscious, but he did win. And then obviously in the main event, Ankalaev beats Pereira in a fight that Pereira didn't even look himself. So if Pereira would have won and if Hooker and Gaethje would have went to war, this card had so much potential. But since the main and co-main didn't pan out how we thought it would and how it actually panned out, I have this one in 7th place. Moving on. I have UFC 323. Now, I see a lot of people glazing this card like this is top 3 card of the year. I don't find this top 3 card of the year, bro. I really don't. I think this is a good 6th position, okay? The early prelims, they were decent, okay? They were actually pretty good. They were actually all finishes. Let me take that back. They were more than decent. You have Myron Santos getting a finish. Holy fuck, stutter. Mansour Abdul Malik gets a finish. Iwo versus Ebo was legendary. Jalen Turner, my boy, comes back and gets a big knockout. Bruno Ferreira, Marvin Torre was boring as hell. Marvin, fucking please retire. Fares Ziam versus Nazim Sadikov. That was a boring fight, but Ziam won. At the buzzer. Jason Herzog, you need to be investigated for that. But Chris Duncan, Terrence McKinney was a scrap. Macy Barber, fucking bad fight. Manuel Torres versus Grant Dawson was a good finish. So the prelims and early prelims were really good, bro. But the main card... I'm sorry, why are people saying this is like pay-per-view of the year, like top 3? Like genuinely, why are people saying this? Jan Blachowicz versus Bogdan Guskov? It was a draw, bro. And are we really saying that fight was like that good? I mean, I know they both dropped each other, but that fight wasn't that. It was mid, bro. Pitter-pat shots in the first round, and then Guskov drops him. That's a good moment, but he didn't really do anything. He landed some elbows, but he just sat in guard and just rained elbows, and Jan barely defended. Like, I don't know. That fight wasn't that good to me. Henry Cejudo versus Peyton Talbot was a scrap. That was probably the best fight, second best fight on the pay-per-view. That was an absolute scrap. Moreno versus Tyra wasn't anything special, and it was an early stoppage. I stand by that. That was an early stoppage. Give Moreno time, bro. I know he was eating shots, but it was a flyweight, so that was an early stoppage. That fight wasn't even that good. Pantoja Van was so fucking so sad and like anticlimactic and just a gruesome injury. So I don't know how the people are putting this pay-per-view of the year when a co-main event ends in an injury in 20 seconds. Come on, people, do better. The main event did carry. It was a great main event. Peter Yan and Merab went to a war, so I see why people have it high, but this doesn't even crack the top 5 for me. So let's move on to the top 5, and in the 5th position, we do have UFC 314, all right? We do have UFC 314. This was a good card, okay? I'm going to stop, being a hater. This was a good card, okay? I really enjoyed this card. Early prelims were decent. Olekchaychuk, he slimed out Dumas. Marco Tulio beat Tresean Gore. That was a little back and forth fight. Nothing else really stands out. Dan Ige, oh my gosh, bro. I'm a Dan Ige hater. And I'm sorry, but I am a Dan Ige hater. He beat Sean Woodson in one of the earliest... Who was the ref? Was it Herzog? Probably was fucking Mark Smith. I'm a Mark Smith. Mark Smith, you're the worst ref. So it was probably Mark Smith, but that was one of the. No, it was Herzog, wasn't it? I don't know, but Danny gave her Sean Woodson was one of the earliest stoppages. Go back and watch. You'll agree with me because that was fucking bullshit. But Julian Erosa got a finish on the prelims. Nothing. Jim Miller was on there, but he lost to Chase Hooper. And I think Chase Hooper, that was the fight where he said he gooned too much in the camp or some shit like that. But that was funny. But the main card was really good. The main card was fucking fire, let's be real. Dominic Reyes slimes out Nikita Krylov. That was fun to see. Gene Silva versus Bryce Mitchell was an absolute scrap. And the build-up was just so good. And I'm a Gene Silva fan, so seeing him do Bryce Mitchell like that was really satisfying. That was such a good fight. Yeah, Yair vs. Pitbull, it was okay, but it kind of halted. Is that a word, halted? I feel like I'm saying that wrong. It halted the momentum of the card. No, I used that right, I think. It halted the momentum of the card. And then Paddy Pimblett versus Michael Chandler was such a good fight. Yeah, and then Volkanovski-Lopez. I was rooting for Lopez. I was mad at Lopez because I felt like he was... I don't know. Volk just circles around. Yo, if you're a fucking Volk fan, please tell me why, bruh. I know he kind of scrapped it out in this fight, but he was just on the outside, just fucking pitter-pat shotting. Like, ugh. Fucking watching Volk just pisses me off. I wanted Diego to slime him out, and I'm hoping he slimes him out, although he doesn't deserve to be in the title shot again. I really want Lopez to beat Volk, but that fight was a good fight. Lopez dropped him in the second. I thought he was going to finish him there. If it wasn't for the bell, I think he might have maybe got him out of there, but yeah, this was a really good card, so let's move on. In the 4 spot, I do have UFC 311. This card had the potential to be card of the year, bro. It had such good potential, man. And the crowd, this might have been crowd of the year, bro. If you remember, it was at the Intuit Dome in Los Angeles, bro. This crowd was so loud, bro. I think they should go back to California more. They had passionate fans, but bro, this crowd was insane, man. During the co-main and main, during the feature fight with Yuri and in the co-main with Merab, bro, this fight was so loud, like my ears were fucking bleeding. I had AirPods in, bro. The crowd was loud, so that was awesome. Like the cinematics they did for the walkouts on that huge screen in the Intuit Dome was fire too. So this was like crowd and event of the year, but the card started off really so with 4 straight decisions in the prelims. The prelims were decent. You had a Grant Dawson smudge fest. That was bad. Bogdan Guskov got a finish. That was good. Azmat Bakoev was nice, finishing Zachary Reese. And then you had Peyton Talbot getting fraud checked by Barcelos, which sucked, man, because I'm a Talbot fan. But yeah, I am a Talbot fan, so that was hard to see. But the main card, bro, this main card was so good. Rainer de Ritter, like a coming out party against Kevin Holland. Jailton Almeida actually put on a decent scrap for once in his life against Sergey Spivak in a finish. And then Yuri, one of my favorite fights of the year, slamming out Jamal Hill. W hate watch. W Jamal Hill loss. We don't fuck with you, Jamal Hill. And Yuri just dropped him twice, finished him. Crowd got so hype. It was awesome to see. So that was also amazing. Merab versus Umar was such a banger fight too, and a back and forth, surprising war. We thought it was going to be boring, but it delivered. It fucking delivered, man. That fight was so good. Aura farming at the end was so fire. And then, bro, if Islam versus Arman fought and it was a scrap, this would have been one for me. I'm not going to lie. This would have been one for me. This main card was so good. This probably would have been one for me, bro. But Arman pulls out a day before the fight. I remember I was on a bus. I was a senior in college. This was like almost a year ago, which is crazy. But I was on a bus going to a basketball game. I was on a basketball team in college. And the news broke, and I was fucking so sad. We were talking about it on the bus, but with me and my other boy. I won't say his name, but he knows who he is if he's watching, which he's probably not. But yeah, bro. This fucking sucked. Arman pulled out, and we got Moicano. Moicano was supposed to fight Dariush, which would have been, a decent fight. We ended up seeing that fight, but bro, if Arman stayed in this fight and it was a scrap, which I think Arman could have gave Islam a scrap and like amazing scrambles and shit, bro, this would have been one for me, but the main event got changed, so it is in the 4 spot. Let's move on to my top 3 pay-per-views of 2025. And at number 3, we have UFC 319. Now, this also could have been one for me if the main event was anywhere somewhat fucking fun and decent and good. But Khamzat Chimaev, you stunk up the card. Dricus du Plessis, you stunk up the card. Yes, it is your fault too for not being able to fucking shuck off one take. You can't defend one fucking takedown. Jesus Christ, what did you do in that camp, bro? Fucking play fucking pitter patter with MMA Guru, like, bro, what the fuck did you do in that camp? Anyway, this card was just good. It was back in Chicago. They haven't been to Chicago in a while. Prelims, if I can remember, the prelims were decent. You had Bisinger, Susakayev like 4 days after. He almost got finished by Eric Nolan. I was low-key rooting for Nolan because I don't fuck with Bisinger, Susakayev, but that was a good scrap. Oleksiejczuk slimes out fucking Gerald Mearshart in 1 round. Alexander Hernandez finished as Chase Hooper. That was a decent fight. Bro, this main card was legendary, man. This main card, actually, one fight wasn't. Actually, 2 fights weren't, but the main card started out good. Kaya Sakura, he's an exciting fighter, but he did lose to fucking D'Amelia by submission in round 2. Rear naked choke. Fuck, man, I thought Asakura was going to be something, but I guess not. He got slimed out. Michael Page versus Jared Cannonier was a nothing fight. Michael Page, you're a fucking loser. I hate you. Actually, you know what? Bro, let me chill out. Michael Page, if I met you, I'd shake your hand, but bro, you're one of my least favorite fighters because you celebrate in the cage. I fucking hate that shit. I'm looking at the significant strikes. You threw 29 significant strikes in fucking 15 minutes, bro. That's like 1 point something strikes a minute. And then you celebrate after every single one. Like, oh my God, I can't fucking watch this guy fight anymore. It's so painful. And you're probably a good guy, but fucking hell, I just can't do it. But then we get to the back-to-back spinning elbow knockouts. Carlos Prates over Jeff Neal at the buzzer. We're a fucking Prates fan over here. That was so fire. Then Lerone Murphy. I low-key thought this fight was going to be boring, guys. Lerone Murphy versus Aaron Pico. I thought it was going to be boring. I know Pico comes to scrap, but Lerone, doesn't get a lot of finishes. But bro, I thought Pico had his number. He rocked him on the feet and then shot in for a fucking takedown. I don't know why he did that. He had Lerone rocked on the feet. Rewatch that fight, but Pico was shooting in, got too aggressive, and Lerone spinning elbowed him. That was those back-to-back. That shit was electric, bro. Especially in Chicago, that shit was so electric. And then, if this fight just, I mean, this is going to sound stupid, but if the main event just stopped while they were, looking at each other, right before, the fight was about to start, where Hamzat, had that, funny-ass look on his face, and they were just staring down, bro, if the fight just, stopped and, my internet cut out, bro, this card would have been number 1 for me, but unfortunately, the fight did happen, and it was just, bro, oh my fuck. It was the worst main event of the year. I'm going to say that. And we had women's MMA main events this year. This was just so fucking bad, bro. Oh, it was so bad. And I don't know why Hamzat didn't, advance position, try to go for finishes. At least Islam did that against JDM. We're going to get to that card, but I don't know, man. Just what was the game plan for Drickus? You couldn't fucking defend one takedown. And then what was the game plan for Hamzat, bro? Go for a finish. What happened to you this fight? You were so entertaining, bro. But yeah, the main event really, this could have been, top tier, but I still have it in my 3rd spot because it was electric. It was an electric pay-per-view, but, the main card, or the main fight just kind of sold. But moving on to number 2, I do have UFC 322, okay? I do have UFC 322. Now, this fight card was generational. It was starting out generational. And I'm not as hard on the main event as I am for the Hamzat DDP because I felt as though Islam could have finished JDM at any moment. He was going for subs, but JDM's defense was really good. So I think Islam was going for finishes. So that's why I have this above 319. Should I have put 319 above? Because the women's Weili versus Valentina was not a good fight. Anyway, these are my rankings. So prelims, Kyle Dawkins had a nice finish. Pat Sabatini and Chepe Mariscal went to somewhat of a war, but Sabatini just holds him against the kid. We're Sabatini haters, by the way. Oh my God, his fight style is terrible. But Susakayev beats Nolan in the 3rd round. That was a meh fight. Bo Nickel, huge finish. I'm not going to lie, I didn't see that one coming. That fight was really boring. He was just beating up on Old Man Vieira, but he did get the head kick knockout. That was fire. I'll give Nickel some credit. Blanchfield gets a sub over Cortez. We were rooting for Sexy Cortez on that one. Ethan Ewing over Wellmaker. That was a fucking upset. That was a big upset, but yeah, then we get to the main card. This main card was so legendary for the first 3 fights. BSD slimes out Dariush with 1 punch in 16 seconds. That was crazy to see. We messed with Dariush over here. And we messed with Saint Denis as well. But Carlos Prates knocks out Leon Edwards. Oh my God, the hate watch was crazy. I thought Leon was going to win, I'll be real. But Carlos did his thing in the 2nd round, knocked him out. It was crazy. Michael Morales, Sean Brady, another crazy. Oh, excuse me. Just burped there if you heard that. That was great. We're not going to edit that out. We keep things live here. So, what was I saying? Oh yeah, Michael Morales slimes out Sean Brady in a round. That was insane to see. I thought Brady was going to be able to control him, but Morales just kept the distance and slimed out Brady. I felt bad for Brady because he literally had a title shot. Actually, no, I don't feel bad. Why the fuck are you taking that fight, bro? Anyway, Valentina versus Whaley, just that was such a hyped up matchup, and it just halted. That's my word, bro. Halted. It halted the pace of the card, especially after 3 great fights. So yeah, that sucked. And then the main event didn't live up to the hype. The walkouts for the main event were fire. I love Islam's music. I like JDM's walkout. I thought it was gonna be a scrap, bro. If that was a scrap, it would have been number 1 probably. I have a lot of number 1s. These last few cards were really good, but yeah, this is gonna be in my second spot. And of course, yeah, that's all I'm gonna say. 322. It was good, but the last 2 fights just fucking could have been better, and that's what sucks. And obviously, in my number 1, I'm going to have UFC 320 as my best and favorite pay-per-view this year. This pay-per-view was fucking legendary, bruh. It was legendary. The prelims were decent. Ramiz Brahimaj got the only submission. The prelims started off slow, I'm not going to lie. Brahimaj submitted Vanderford. Edmund Shabazian got a first-round finish. Wicklach versus Patchy Mix was a somewhat okay scrap, but Patchy Mix is terrible, so yeah, I mean, actually, that was a nothing fight. That was so boring. What am I saying? Why am I trying to gas that fight up? Anyway, Daniel Santos, a shoot-the-box legend. He slimed out I fucked this guy's name up in another video, too. Yu Ju Sang, who had just came off a nasty KO. He messed him up in 21 seconds into the second round, so that was fire to see. Atiba Gauthier just fucking pounced on another can. So the prelims were decent. I'm going to give the prelims were pretty decent. Then the main card, Joe Pyfer got a nice submission win over Abus Magomedov. That was a good scrap if I remember. Abus had Pyfer's back in the first round. I thought there was going to be an upset, but yeah, that was a decent scrap. Yusuf Zalal slimes out Emmett in 1 minute and 38 seconds with an arm triangle. Not an arm triangle, a triangle choke, triangle armbar. Which I was hyped to see that happen because Zalal's fights are usually so boring. So I was glad he got a finish. And I'm glad that fight was over quick because I didn't want to see Emmett swing those big meaty hooks. Shout out Lucas. And Zalal just run around the cage doing nothing. So I'm glad that fight ended quick. And then one of my fights of the year, Yuri versus Khalil. The fight started off a little slow. I thought Yuri was going to lose, but he just puts it all on the line, goes and slams out Khalil. And hopefully he gets a vacant title shot next. And yeah, that was one of my favorite fights. Love Yuri. Love seeing him get a W. And Merab versus Corey, it was a decent scrap. If Merab had finished Corey in the second round, which he almost did, I don't know how he didn't finish him. And Corey Sandhagen, you're one of my least favorite fighters, and that was a W hate watch. Because how are you almost getting put out by Merab, bro? You talked all that crap. You tried to build the fight, and I know it's building the fight, but I'm just saying, if you say you're gonna knock out Merab and then Merab fucking Dvalishvili almost knocks you out, that's not a good look. Yeah, that fight was a decent scrap. Merab, he just spammed takedowns at the last 3 rounds, but he almost got him out of there in the second. And then this was probably my favorite main event of the year. Alex Pereira, one of my favorite fighters, slimes out, absolutely takes out Magomed Ankalaev in about a minute. He just literally took the center of the cage, just backed Ankalaev up back against the black line and just fucking put the pressure on and finished him. I loved it. It was so fun to watch. My GOAT is back, and hopefully he goes for that heavyweight title. I was kind of, when Pereira does that like Khabib lame celebration, I didn't feel bad for him when he did it against Jamal Hill, but I low-key felt like bad for Ankalaev when he did it to Ankalaev, but I was happy Pereira won. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. What was your favorite pay-per-view of the year? Let me know what you think of my rankings. And yeah, that's it for this one. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.